Welcome to Golden Black Live, our November 18th edition. Snowy cold, West Lafayette. Tom, I don't know. You'd be a few years ago. You'd be dressing up for a high school football game tonight at Straley Field. It is going to be chilly out there for the Red Devils in Chittard tonight. Tomorrow as well when Purdue takes on Northwestern. I want to thank our sponsors. That's Triple X, on the hill but on the level, a Purdue tradition since 1929. State Farm agent Trent Johnson at trentismyagent.com. We also have a special show. Every show is what we have is special, but today's guest later, Mitch Daniels, will join us for segment 2, kind of his goldenblack.com exit interview, but nice enough to join us. And then Peyton Stovall, somebody that Tom and I know well, that a Lafayette legend in terms of a player, but working hard in the Purdue Athletic Department, and a lot of questions on NIL and other topics with Peyton in segment 3. So, Tom, we've gotten to senior day. Yes, it's going to be a brisk one, to say the least. It looks like temperatures under 30 degrees maybe tomorrow. And yet maybe that's kind of been in November. It's been a cold, windy November so far. So maybe the weather has little to nothing to do with it, because it's kind of been the same the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they showed last week they could play in the cold and succeed, Allen, which was a good sign in Memorial Stadium over in Champaign, Illinois. Big 31-24 victory against the number 21 Illini. And like you said, it's going to be probably every bit as cold, if not colder, Saturday for Senior Day in Ross-Age Stadium. This is November. It's Big Ten football, right? I mean, this is going to happen. And I think, Allen, Purdue offensively is equipped for these conditions, maybe more so now than in recent years, just because they can run the football.
Yeah.
Devin Mockabee allows you to play quote unquote Big Ten November football. And with him lined up behind Aiden O'Connell, you have to think he'll get a steady diet of handoffs and hopefully wear down that Northwestern defense and set up some play action passes for Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a storyline. And yet Northwestern, one of the worst teams in the league defensively against the pass. It will be interesting to see what Purdue's strategy is. You got to think they'll go early and often to Mockabee, but it'd be very tempting to also get Aiden O'Connell unfurled in a big way come Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, you're right. I know it's Senior Day. They probably want to send O'Connell out maybe with a bang, but I'm sure he'll get his chances to take his shots downfield. But again, you'd like to set him up, like you said, with Devin Mockabee. And Allen, you wonder how much fight this Northwestern team really has. 1-9, they've lost 9 games in a row.
Yeah.
You got to go back to like August 27th over in Ireland to find the last time the Wildcats have won a game. So again, they come in here as one of the worst Wildcat teams we've seen, Allen, since the Francis Pay, Dennis Green era, I would think.
Yeah.
I know you got to take everybody seriously, but again, this is a team that's fortunes are really sagging. They're not circling the drain. They seem to be in the drain. But again, I know crazy things can happen, but boy, for Purdue, you really doubt that they're going to let this one get by. And with so much on the line for the Boilermakers, we all know, Allen, we all know what's at stake here in November, these last couple of weeks. Win out, Iowa loses a game, and all of a sudden Purdue's playing in Lucas Oil Stadium for the Big Ten Championship in early December.
Well, while you're working hard to recap tomorrow's game, a lot of Purdue fans are going to be tuning into that Minnesota-Iowa game that takes off and starts right at, I think, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, 4 Eastern.
4 o'clock and after the noon start for Purdue. Purdue has not, we did the research, hasn't been a favorite like this at home in the Big Ten game, dating all the way back to 2005 in the Ron Zook era of Illinois football, the early Ron Zook era, I believe. And it just doesn't happen very often that you're this big a favorite at home. Give us a scenario where Northwestern stays in this football game. Is it as simple as Purdue's got to hang on to the football? What do you think?
Yeah, that's part of it. Don't turn the ball over. But again, if Purdue has one of those crazy 4 or 5 turnover games, that would help Northwestern. If for some reason Northwestern can maybe turn one of those turnovers into a defensive score, maybe 2 defensive scores, pick 6, scoop and score, that obviously would help the Wildcats. I think Special teams as well, Alan, the hidden third of the game. Maybe Northwest can generate a score on special teams that could keep them in the game. A block punt, return for a touchdown. And offensively, I think possibly, they could get some traction running the football with Evan Hall, who's a good running back, can run behind that first-round draft choice at left offensive tackle, Peter Skoranek. Maybe, Alan, again, they get traction running the ball. They keep the ball for extended stretches away from Purdue. They eat clock, have 2 or 3 long, sustained drives that result in points. That's another thing that maybe the Wildcats could do to make this game very interesting and to make fans start to bite their fingernails. So those are a few things that maybe could unfold that could maybe make this more of a ball game than a lot of people think it could be.
Yeah, big crowd expected still. You wrote a story earlier this week that they've down to maybe a couple thousand, if that. Tickets, that's another testament, really, to Purdue's fan base, that you're going to have a big crowd for tomorrow afternoon's game. And yes, you will need to bundle up, but that part of it will be well covered. All right, you talked a lot about being on the line. Obviously, if Minnesota can beat Iowa and Purdue can win the last 2 games, and again, now you have to also beat Indiana, Purdue could get a shot at going to Indianapolis and playing either probably Ohio State or Michigan in that one. But that is still, Purdue's got to keep itself focused on that. And we'll start to really focus on this too next week in terms of bowl. A lot of predictions out there, a lot of moving parts of where Purdue could land, anywhere from Tampa to Orlando to Charlotte to Vegas. Who knows for sure. And we'll get our cast of experts in as it really becomes more in sight next week of what will be at stake. A lot has to do with whether Penn State, whether the Big Ten gets 3 teams in the New Year's Day 6, all those factors play into it. So we'll evaluate that as we go. But talk about, help me put Aidan O'Connell's career in perspective. It's obviously a bittersweet day. He is finally running out of eligibility, but what an amazing story. I know he may have not had the senior year that some had hoped, and there's reasons for that, but he still has had a pretty amazing career at Purdue.
Yeah, I tell you what, he can really add to that legacy in that career if he can punctuate it with a Big Ten West championship. Remember, Al, if Purdue does win its last 2, it can at least call itself co-Big Ten West champs, right?
That's correct.
Even if Iowa wins out and ends up representing the Big Ten West. So that will be another nice feather in Aidan O'Connell's cap. And yeah, I mean, it's been a Cinderella story. He was my lead in my football notebook for Friday, which is on the website now. He talked to us this week, got a little philosophical looking back on his career. I thought it was a nice little interview. So yeah, I'll ask you this. I wrote something about a month ago on this. I think Aidan O'Connell belongs in the cradle of quarterbacks. What does the great Alan Carpick think?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, here's the one number that he's absolutely, his numbers stack up. He started for the length of time that he's started. And the thing that I think is important about him that's really unique is the 6, or is it, I believe it's the 5 or 6 fourth quarter comebacks. He has taken Purdue in crunch time and led it to victory. I think he and Drew Brees are tied for that number. And that is an extremely impressive attribute that he's been able to have. Yes, and he should have had another one against Syracuse. I mean, and he could have had another one against Penn State. I mean, and it wasn't his fault that those games didn't turn out the way that Purdue wanted down the stretch. So I just think he does. His numbers are extremely good. Yes, he has had more interceptions this year than maybe anticipated, but he's done a great job. And again, as we've talked about, and not to diss Purdue's receiving core, but it is hard when you go from David Bell and Charlie Jones done a great job, has been an all Big Ten level receiver. But, when you don't have Milton Wright and David Bell, that's taken some getting used to. I think Purdue's done some good things there. But so I think it's a no-brainer. I think he absolutely deserves it. And I think he's going to go down in history. Whether he's going to be a great NFL guy or get a chance in the NFL, who knows? I don't know that I wouldn't bet totally against him. But I think he belongs.
I wouldn't either, Alan. I think he'll be on a roster for sure. The fascinating thing will be to see if he gets drafted.
Yeah.
We got plenty of time to talk and analyze that in January, February, and March. So First things first, like you said, trying to win this Big Ten West championship. And also, Alan, on the site for fans to remember too is the Ross-Ade renovation will start to happen before our very eyes soon after the final gun is sounded on Saturday. Of course, much anticipated $45 million Ross-Ade renovation phase 1. 3 main projects in that phase we talked about before: the tunnel, the nutrition center in the south end zone. Talked to Mike Babinski yesterday, provided some insight there. So exciting time to see that stadium, which Allen's coming up on 100 years old, opened up in 1924. Yeah. See that renovation, and that renovation, see that stadium, in its next incarnation here, once this thing's done, Alan, it's supposed to be finished in time for the season opener next year, I think September 2nd against Fresno State.
Yeah, it's going to be there's a lot of construction in general in West Lafayette. There's going to be more around Cherry Lane as well, and all the stuff that will go on. So it's going to be with the golf clubhouse too. So interesting time, and look forward to, if you haven't had a chance to read that, make sure you do that. Also, you can subscribe to us again for $1 for a year at goldenblack.com and our new On3 partners. All right, Tom, we'll let you get back to your Friday afternoon, and we'll look forward to your coverage tomorrow. And we'll be back for segment 2 with Purdue President Mitch Daniels will join us. A lot to talk about there. And then, of course, Peyton Stovall for segment 3. And we'll be back. No show next week, but we will have a show in December as well, as Purdue prepares for its bowl game. So we'll be back in 2 minutes on Golden Black Live.